Morning children, welcome to our next class. Good morning children, welcome to our next class. In last class you learned about desert habitat, grasslands and mountain habitats, the adaptations shown by these organisms in these habitats you learned very well. And in today's class we are going to discuss about aquatic habitat. So terrestrial habitat means the organisms which live on land known as terrestrial habitat. And there are three different types of habitats we have completed: grasslands, deserts and grassland habitats, desert habitats, mountain habitats. These all comes under terrestrial habitat. Aquatic habitat means the organisms which live in water called as aquatic. The habitat. Habitat means the place where the organisms are living, known as habitat. Aquatic means water. Water habitat we are going to see. And you all know that our earth is made up of 3 by 4th of water itself. It is covered by 3/4 water and only 1 by 4th land part. So in this, out of these three parts of water, most of the 75% of water is salty water. So the organisms which live in the salty water and the habitat called as marine habitat or salty habitat, marine habitat, sea animals we can call them. There are n number of varieties of organisms live in the seas and oceans. Different organisms can be seen in these habitats. And what are the adaptations or the special characters these organisms are showing which live in the oceans or marine habitats we'll discuss today. So the first organism you all are familiar with this. This is fish. And what adaptations fish is showing to live in the water. You are well known about this organism, that is, it has a streamlined body. Because of its streamlined body, it's able to live in water. The meaning of streamline is the front part of the fish and back part of the fish is narrow in shape, and the middle part of the fish is wider in shape. So this front back is narrow shape and the middle is broader shape. So such type of shape is known as streamlined body. So because of this streamlined body, the fish is able to move in water. That is one adaptation the fish is showing. And the another adaptation is it has fins for swimming. These are called fins. So these fins are helping the fishes to move in water. And the tail fin is very useful for the fish to move its direction. Not only for swimming, it helps like a rudder. How in a boat the rudder is helping to push the water back. So in this way the tail fish is helping to change even the direction. So this is one more adaptation the fishes are showing. That's why they are able to live in marine habitat. And another adaptation they are having scales on their body. Due to the scales, they protect them from wetting. They are always under the water, but they doesn't feel like wet because of the presence of scales on their body. So these scales are protecting the fishes from wetting. And the another adaptations which fishes shows the breathing process. So they have a special character of gills. Due to these gills, they are able to swim and breathe inside the water. But some marine animals like sharks and dolphins, they don't have gills like this. They oftenly comes to the land to take the air. So they are taking air from outside. The sharks and dolphins, because of the purpose of taking air, oftenly they'll come to the land and goes inside. And due to this, they are many times they are always will be in moving. And one more thing, they can be under the water without breathing for some time. So that is the difference between shark, dolphins and fishes. Understood? All these animals belongs to the marine habitat only, but they are showing some differences. In fishes, they are having gills for breathing, whereas sharks and dolphins visit the land, they swim up to the land, up to the water. After breathing, they'll go inside the water again. So they have nostrils to take the air inside. Understood? So these are the adaptations shown by marine habitat organisms. And some other organisms, they'll not come to the surface to breathe air like shark and dolphin. Or they'll not come up upper surfaces like the fishes to get their food. They are living at the bottom of the water to the substrate. They are attached to the substrate, and if any organism is moving in sight of their surroundings, they just catch that organism and they engulf it. They'll take that as their food. So they are known as bottom dwellers. At bottom of the sea or the bottom of the oceans only they will live. They won't come up like sharks and dolphins, either for the breathing purpose or for the acquiring food. For any purpose, they are not coming up, and they will take their air or oxygen which is dissolved in the water, that they will take for their breathing purpose, and for their food they are catching the organisms which are moving around them. They'll catch and they eat. So these type of organisms, this is a squid animal, and this is the octopus, you know very well. Eight hand-like structures are having, that's why it's also called as octopus, and it is squid. Both are attached to a substrate at the bottom of the sea or ocean. So they are also known as bottom dwellers. So that is the habitat there, that is the adaptation which is suitable for them, attaching to the substrate, and these hand-like structures which they can stretch and catch their prey. These are the adaptations they are showing at the bottom of the sea and oceans. Okay, so these are some of the adaptations shown by the marine habitat organisms. Now if we see the freshwater habitat, some animals, when you visit, you can do a small experiment. If any pond or stagnated water near to your surroundings, you just visit that. It may be the pond, lake, or a small puddle also can be seen, and you try to find out what are the organisms are in the water and what are floating on the water, and what are the organisms living surrounded to that puddle or the lake or the pond, whatever you are going to visit, right? So you can see the different organisms near the freshwater habitat. Some are totally inside the water. Some organisms just live nearby that surroundings. If you take the frog, frogs can live both in water and on the land. They are amphibians. They show the dual life. So The water, the mainly their life starts with eggs. A mucus layer is collecting all these eggs, and the n number of eggs they'll release into the water. So they are choosing the water for their reproduction process. For their generation to grow, they are using water as the medium. So they will live near to this water surroundings only. And from the egg, the tadpole is developed, and the tadpole just looks like the fish. It can swim inside the water, it has a tail, and how fishes are breathing, same way the tadpoles are also breathing. And after a few days, then the tadpole gets developed into like the tadpole with legs. The first stage, which is developed from the eggs, this tadpole doesn't have any legs, but in the next stage, they are having the legs. So the tadpole next stage is tadpole with legs. And even here also, it shows a tail and breathe with gills like fishes. So that's why they will not leave the water surroundings. Always they'll be near to the water surroundings. And from this tadpole with legs after this stage, then slowly a froglet, the young frog uh, get, is developed. At this stage, slowly the tail disappears and it starts breathing, and it starts coming to the land, and it can also breathe by its moist skin, and it can also breathe through their nostrils and lungs they start using. So in this way, they are able to survive on the land and in the water. Okay. So compulsory, necessarily, they need water for their development, because if the moisture content is not present on these eggs, they cannot get fertilized. So for this purpose, they will never leave the water habitat. And for example, if you see an another frog which is called as uh, strawberry poisonous drought frog. This color is just like a strawberry color. So this frog is also known as strawberry poisonous dart frog. Strawberry poisonous dart frog. It can be seen in Central America. So it is totally laid its eggs on land. It shows most of the time terrestrial habitat it shows. Then it completely laid their eggs on the land, and the male frog passed the urine on those eggs to keep them in moisture condition. And then after the eggs get fertilized, this strawberry dart frog take this tadpoles, it keeps on its back, and it takes near to the water source, where it may be a pond, or it may be a lake, or it may be a small puddle. But total take care is taken by the mother frog. So it keeps the tadpoles on its back, and it go and live in the water source. And it also feed the tadpole till it change into like a froglet. That means young frog. So these are the adaptations shown by the organisms which live in freshwater habitat. So these adaptations they are showing, that's why they are able to survive in the water habitat. Understood, children? Now we will see the plants. What are the different plants live in aquatic areas? In aquatic area, what type of plants can be? So some plants can be submerged. That means totally merge inside the water. And some plants partially merged in the water. That means what is that submerged, partially merged, we'll see now. If you see the tape grass or vallisneria plants, all the parts of this plant is under the water. and the leaves are narrow in shape. Narrow shaped leaves, and the roots are very small, which are attached to the bottom of the water. So this all parts of the plant is inside the water itself. So such type of plants which are growing inside the water known as completely submerged plants. Fully submerged plants. Examples for fully submerged plants are tape grass and vallisneria. And some plants like water lily, they are half merged, partially submerged plants. They are partially submerged, means their roots are inside the water, but their stem, leaves and flowers are floating on the water. Above the water their leaves float, and their flowers blooms on the water. And so these type of plants are called partially submerged plants. And vallisneria is fully submerged plant, whereas water lily is partially submerged plant. And their leaves are broad in shape, and they are also having the stomata, which is upper surface of the leaf. Most of the terrestrial plants will have a lower surface of the leaf. They are having the stomata for breathing. But whereas in water lilies, lotus and all, upper surface of the leaf, the stomata is present, and which is helpful for breathing purpose. And also they are having a waxy coating on their leaves. These leaves are having waxy coating, so that it prevents the stagnation of water. Even though they are living inside the water, they are floating on the water, but the water droplets can't be stagnated or dropped on these leaves because of the waxy coating. So they'll be free from wetting. They will not get rotten 24 hours when they are in the water also. That is the reason they are having the waxy coating, is the reason they are always fresh, and they are able to give flowers and reproduce. And one more thing is, their stem is having air cavities. When you cut this stem and see, some cavities can be found in this stem. They are known as air cavities. Due to these air cavities only, these plants are floating on the water. So they are also known as floating plants. These plants like vallisneria and tape grass called merged plants. Merged, that means fully merged inside the water only, all their plant parts. Understood children, the difference between fully submerged plants and partially submerged plants. And the last one, if you take mm, water lettuce. Water lettuce means their leaves itself looks, get a shape like a flower. All their leaves will float on the water, and they are having a short roots which float in the water. So their roots are under the water, their leaves are floating above the water, and the leaves itself get a structure of a flower. So floating plants float on the surface with their roots submerged in the water. Their leaves are also round in shape, looks like a flower. Okay, so these are some of the adaptations, and same adaptations even these plants are also showing. Floating plants also shows the same type of adaptations where partially submerged plants are showing. So they float on the water. Maximum all these parts of the plants like roots, stem, flower, everything will float on the water. So these are fully submerged plants. Example vallisneria and tape grass. And partially submerged plants. Example water lilies. And here fixed plants are floating plants. Floating plants are examples are water lettuce. These are Partially submerged plants are also called as fixed plants. Before I said they are floating plants, but they are not floating plants. The third group is floating plants because they are floating on the water. Here, partially submerged plants, the roots are attached to the bottom of the water source, and only the stem, leaves, and flowers are floating. That's why they are also called fixed plants. These are merged plants, these are fixed plants, these are floating plants. Merged plants, fixed plants, floating plants. Merged plants, fully merged are tape grass, vallisneria. Fixed plants are water lily and floating plants are water lettuce. Fixed and floating, only one small difference. Fixed plants, their roots are fixed to the substrate. Only the stem, flowers, and the leaves are floating. In floating plants, most of the plant part is above the water. It's floating only. They are having short roots. Understood, children? So these are the different adaptations shown by the aquatic animals and the aquatic plants. So in today's homework, in today's class, what you understood about the special features of fishes, marine habitat animals, and what adaptations they are showing you understood, and what are the bottom dwellers means squids and octopus are bottom dwellers, and what are their adaptations, and what are the freshwater organisms, and what adaptations these organisms are showing you learned, and what are the aquatic plants, what type of adaptations these aquatic plants are showing you understood, right children? So your homework is draw the diagram of a fish and a frog and draw the aquatic any three different types of aquatic plants. One is marine habitat organism fish you draw, and the another one is life cycle of a frog, and the last one is different aquatic plants. So draw all these diagrams in your notebook and neatly label it children. Thank you.